this will be the result of today's tutorial. Once you collect all of the fruit, and on the other side, checkpoint flag flies out, and when you touch it, you get a burst of confetti. Let's see how it's done.
Game Dev Journey.
Okay, so to create the confetti cannon, let's start by creating a new scene with a node 2D as the root. Let's rename it to confetti cannon. And let's add a new particles, GPU particles 2D as a child. This is going to be the confetti, and let's rename this to the color that it's going to be, which is blue confetti. Now, particles have so many properties. You could spend a long time on particles, changing all the properties. Now, I've already set the confetti up in a way that I like, but you could change these properties to suit yourself. You don't have to copy them exactly. This is just what I find looks like a confetti cannon. So what we're going to do now is set emitting to off. We're going to shoot out 16 blocks of confetti. So we'll set amount to 16. Now we're going to expand the time property over here, and we're going to turn one shot to on, because each the cannon will fire out confetti one time and not continuously emit it like a fountain. Now we'll increase the explosiveness to 0.6, and we'll add a bit of randomness so that each time it's a little bit different. So we'll make that 0.2. Now we will expand the drawing property, and we'll just turn on local coordinates. This basically just ensures that the particles always appear wherever the flagpole is in the level. They are local to their parent, and we're going to make the parent the checkpoint flag. Now, all particles need a process material. So if you go to the process material, we can go ahead and add a new particle process material. Once it's added, you can click on it to expand its properties, and it by itself has lots and lots of properties that can be configured. We'll start with the particle flags. Click on this and we'll enable rotate on the Y. So this is going to just make each little square confetti is going to spin as it comes out. You can close or fold particle flags now, and we'll expand the spawn property, and we'll just modify the angle for the confetti that it fires at. I've played around with this, and the magic numbers for me are around about 209 and 327, but you can really make any numbers you like. This will just change the way the particles fire out initially. It's the angle they fire at. So let's fold angle now, and now let's expand the velocity property. So here we have velocity, and we want the confetti particles to shoot upwards. At the moment they're shooting to the right. X is 1, so we'll make X 0, and we'll make Y -1. Z can be left at 0. This means that the direction the particles initially go in is up. Let's also set the initial velocity. This is their initial speed. I found that between 50 and 100 works well. It gives a realistic effect. So those are the numbers that I chose. We can fold that now, and we can go to animated velocity. And we'll go to angular velocity, and we'll set this between 1 and 5. Those numbers worked well. Looks realistic to me. Now we can fold that. We can go to accelerations, and let's make these particles fall back to the ground quite quickly. Well, I think gravity of 98 is fine. Let's leave that. Okay, let's now expand the display. So let's fold accelerations. Let's expand display. Let's expand scale. And let's set the minimum size of the particles to 5 and the max to 10. So kind of a middle ground over there. Now what we can do is we can also set a scale curve. So if you go into the scale curve property, we can make a new curve texture and then click on the curve texture. And here you see the curve. Click on the curve. Currently they're all at full size right from the start to the end. If you go to the presets, there are some nice presets we could use. Ease in is pretty good. This means they could be from 0 to full size. So I'm actually going to let them be from about half to full size. So let's see if we can get half. That's close enough for me. Okay, so they start at about the minimum of a 0.5, half the scale that we set, that initial scale, and then they could be full scale. This just gives a nice randomness so that all the confetti looks different, a slightly different size. Right, still in the display settings, let's now go do the most important thing, which are the colors. So let's expand color curves. Here's color curves. Let's expand that. And let's go and choose color. Now we said this one's going to be blue. So let's click here. And if you drag here, you can get all the shades and you can go and pick a nice kind of sky blue color. I've already know the color code that I want, which is 6CD9F1. That's a nice sky blue, as you can see. And now if you go and turn on the emitting property, you should get a preview in the inspector window of what our blue confetti will look like. And there you can see it over there. If we zoom in a bit, let's move this center and we preview it, that's what our blue confetti is going to look like. That looks great to me. Okay, so that's the hard part done with all these various settings. Now we don't need to fiddle with the settings again, because to make different colors, what we can do is right click on the particle here, our blue particle, and duplicate it. Okay, we'll rename it to orange, which is going to be our next color. Okay, and over here in the process material, at the moment it will be blue. And if we want to make it a different color, we have to right click on the process material and click on make unique. Now, when we change the color in the display property of this process material, it won't change the color of the blue one because we've clicked on make unique. So we can go ahead and pick a nice orange. I've got a color I've already picked, which I like, which is F2BC7E. Nice kind of pastel orange. And if we go ahead and click emitting, you can see the orange over there. And if I go back to the blue one and click emitting, you can see it's still blue. But if I had just duplicated it and changed the color without clicking on make unique, then both particles would be the same color. So you have to make it unique. Right, so now we can repeat this process for some more colors. So I'm going to duplicate orange. I'm going to call it green. I'm going to right click on the process material and say make unique, expand it, go to display, go to color curves, click on the color, and I already know the color green I want to use. It's A4CC42. I got a nice green there, and I can preview it with emitting. And I'm going to now duplicate the green, rename it to yellow. I know the pastel orange that I want, pastel yellow that I want to use. So I'm now going to go again to the process material, right click on it, click on make unique, expand it, go to display, go to color curves, click on the color, and I know the color I want is F7EC8A, nice pastel yellow. preview it there. Now I'm going to get red and pink. So I'm going to right click, duplicate again, rename it to red, go to the process material, right click on it, make it unique, expand it, go to display, go to color curves, click on the color, and I know the red I want is F18 B72. I've got a nice pastel red. Emit it, you can see it. Finally, I'm going to add pink, so I'm going to duplicate this, rename it to pink, and click on the process material, right click on it, make it unique, expand it, go to display, go to color curves, click on the color, and I know the color I want, it's F89 CC0, and I've got a nice pastel pink. I can preview it there, and those are going to be all the confetti colors I'm going to use. So now the confetti is ready. What I want to do next is add some popping sounds so that when the cannon fires the confetti, we get some popping sounds that you heard in the introduction. So I'm going to locate these sounds, and these are available in the asset pack that you downloaded at the beginning of the tutorial, but I'll also make them available again here in the description. So what I'm going to do now is just drag and drop them. I'm just going to drag and drop them into my file explorer. So if I go to, I don't think I have a folder for sounds. So I'm going to right click here, create new folder. I'm going to call it audio. There I have a folder called audio, and I'm now going to drag my audio files into audio, and you have 3 different types of pop 1, 2, and 3, little popping sounds. Okay, so now that I'm ready with the popping sounds, I need something to play those sounds. So I'm going to add an audio stream player to play the sounds. Click create. So this audio stream player has a stream property, which is the audio file that it will play. I'm going to leave it blank now because we're going to pick one of these pop sounds at random. So I'm not going to pre-populate it with a sound. Now, how do we know when to play the sounds? Well, for that, I'm going to use a timer. So I'm going to add, well, first I'm going to rename this audio stream player to pop player because it's playing the pop sounds. And I'm going to add a timer node to control when the sounds are played. So I'm going to click on timer, click create. I'm going to rename this to pop timer because it will time the pops. Let's set the wait time of the pop timer to 1/10 of a second, so 0.1. And it's also one shot. Each time the cannon fires, we play a 1 pop. We don't repeatedly play it. Auto start is not on. That's all we need to do for that. Right. Now what we're going to need to do is get into the code for this. So let's click on the confetti cannon node, attach a script. Let's have it as blank. Okay, we'll call it confetti cannon. Do I have a, yes, let's put it in scripts. Okay, click create. Okay, so here's our confetti cannon script. Right, so we want on ready variables to access the pop player and the pop timer. So I'm going to drag it, hold control and release, and drag the pop timer, hold control and release. That way I get a quick way to create ready variables for those 2 nodes. Now I have access to them. Okay, let's now create a list or an array of our 3 sounds, pop 1, pop 2, and pop 3. We'll create an array of them and we'll preload them because preloading them into memory immediately makes for faster gameplay. It's more performant. So let's create a variable. Let's call it pop sounds, and we'll make it equal to a an array. So I'm opening the array, and the array is full of preloaded assets. So I'm going to preload, and there we've got audio 1. Okay, I'm going to put a comma here and go to the next line, tab over, so this is easier to read. And we'll go preload, and we'll have our next asset, which is pop2. Need our comma, and we'll have our next preload, which is pop3, and that's the end of the list. So here we've got the list starts at that square bracket, it ends at that square bracket, and it's separated by commas. So we have 3 pop sounds in the list, and it's pop 1, 2, and 3. Now we can randomly pick a pop sound to play, and each time it'll sound like we have slightly different pops. It just creates a bit of variety for the ear. So now we need a variable to keep track of how many pops are left to play. So let's create another variable called pops remaining, and we'll make it 0 for now. Okay, now in our ready function, ready is always called when the scene is loaded. We're going to call randomize because that will initialize the random number generator so that our results aren't always the same each time the game runs. Now I know we've only got 3 little random things we're picking from, but it's just good practice to always use randomize when you're dealing with random numbers. So we'll have our ready function and we'll call randomize. Okay, now what should we do after that? Let's see. Okay, we need to create a function to fire the confetti cannon, which will then set all the different colors to their emitting value to true. So our fire function will activate all the particles. So let's call it fire. So function fire. And it will set, now what we can just do here is drag and drop like this. So we'll go blue dot emitting equals true. Orange dot emitting equals true. Drag and drop. Green dot emitting equals true. Yellow. So it's going to fire all of them all at once. Red dot emitting equals true. And finally pink. Right, so our fire function will fire all of the confetti, all right, all at once. Now, let's choose a random number of pops, something between 3 and 5 to play. So that's how many pop sounds we're gonna play, and we'll store it in pops remaining. So we'll let Godot work out how many pop sounds we're going to play by giving it a random range of numbers. So let's go pops remaining and set it equal to, where am I actually? I think we should still be in function. Pops remaining will be equal to randy range, and we'll set it to a range between 3 and 5, and now we'll say on pop. Now we'll connect the timeout function. So we'll say on pop timer underscore timeout. We call it pop timer. Okay, we haven't created this function yet, but we will in a moment. Okay, so don't worry about this error for now, because the next thing we're going to make is the pop timer. So if we now go to the pop timer and we go to the node and we find its timeout signal over here, we double click it and connect. Now that error disappears because now we have the function we're trying to call now exists. Here it is on pop timer.timer. So this is now what's going to happen when each time that pop timer reaches its wait time, which is 0.1 seconds. After 0.1 seconds, it runs its timeout function, which is here. Okay, so what are we going to do in that timeout function? Well, first of all, I think if there are no pops left to play, we just exit the function, right? So we need to check if pops remaining is less than or equal to 0, we just return. We just exit the function because there are no pops to play, right? Otherwise, we will pick a random pop sound from the list. So we'll go bar random pop is going to be equal to, we'll go to the pop sounds list and we'll choose a random number between 0 and however many numbers are in the, however many pop sounds are in the list, however many items are in the list. So we'll go pop sounds dot size. Right, so that'll pick a random sound from the list. We must then take that sound and load it into the stream of the pop player. So we must say pop player dot stream equals our random pop. And then we must actually play it. So we've got to say pop player dot play, and it'll play the pop sound. Right. What else do we need to do now? Okay. If the, well, actually we now need to decrease pops remaining as well. So we say pops remaining minus equals 1. And then we can do a test. We can say if pops remaining is greater than 0, in other words, if there are still pops to play, we restart that timer. So we'll say pop timer dot start, and let's set it to timeout again after a short delay. Let's make the delay between 0.05 and 0.2 seconds. So we'll say 0.05 comma 0.2, and this has to be a random range, I think. So we'll say start and we'll go random range 0.05 to 0.2. Well, that works. What time did it start? Random range. Oh, it's a float, so we've actually got to say randf. And these are floats, so that will work. So it'll pick a random amount before it restarts the timer. Right. This should fire the confetti and give us a random pop sounds and restart the timer. Now let's add the confetti cannon, which we've created here. Let's save the scene as confetti cannon in our scenes. Save. And now let's add this confetti cannon as a child of the checkpoint scene. So if we go to our checkpoint, go to the first level and find the checkpoint, let's open it as a scene. Here's our checkpoint scene. Let's add the confetti cannon as a child of the checkpoint. So we're going to instantiate it in this scene. So what we can do is right click, instantiate child scene, and choose our confetti cannon. There it is. So now we've got the confetti cannon added as a child of the checkpoint scene. So now in the checkpoint script, so let's go to the checkpoint and click on its script. All we need to do now is check if the level is complete, because we've got a variable here already checking if the level is complete. So in this body entered, this means the player has now entered the flag. The flag is flying. All we were doing previously was printing that we must load the next level. But now, instead of just loading the next level, now we can actually fire that confetti cannon. Because now we can say that if the level is complete, we can, again, just drag and drop here, drag and drop the confetti cannon, and we can say dot fire. We can call its fire method, and then we can print load next level for now, because we don't have another level to load at the moment. Now, let's check if it's all worked correctly. So let's go to first level and run it and see if we get all the fruit and the flag should fly out, and let's touch it and see if it works. There we go. There's our confetti. So each time we touch, we'll get our confetti now. Different colors, different pop sounds, and you can see at the bottom here it's saying load next level. So the next thing we're going to do is actually load a next level. Although I may want to create a menu, a main menu before we do that. I hope this was useful. See you next time.